bullshitters. Hulk Hogan has come out with another perler, as he always does. He's grist to the mill. He just can't help but just making up complete crap, which is brilliant for us. Hulk Hogan claims he brought The Undertaker to the WWF on a video on his own website. So I know you know the story of this because you were in WCW at the time. You probably even talked to Mark at the time about it. Anyway, here's the quote from Hulk Hogan. It's kind of funny how The Undertaker came about. I was doing a movie called Suburban Commando, and we needed a couple of really big aliens. We had one actor, and we couldn't find another guy big enough. So I remembered Mean Mark Calloway from the NWA. He was working in Atlanta, Georgia for Jim Barnett at the time. So I had somebody hunt him down, and we brought him to Hollywood, and The Undertaker Mark Calloway was one of the bounty hunters in the movie Suburban Commando. We became really good friends, and once we were done, I said, man, you should come to New York. Once we were done, keep in mind. So I brought Mark Calloway to meet Vince, and Vince took a long look at him. He was a monster, 6'10", and which he isn't, and in really good shape. And Vince goes, I'm going to call you The Undertaker. I just said, oh my God, this will never work with body bags and dead people, but I was wrong on that one. So The Undertaker was born. So apparently Hulk Hogan was also in the room when Vince McMahon came up with the Undertaker character. So none of that's true, but what's the actual story of Mark, the Undertaker, becoming the Undertaker in the WWF?
I had him in Memphis. This is the story as I know it. I had him in Memphis. He wasn't making any money. He wanted to go somewhere he could make money. Jimmy Cornette was in Atlanta on part of the booking team. And I remember they had the Towers of Doom or Towers of Pain, and Sid Vicious was in, teamed with Dan Spivey. Sid got hurt. So they needed another big guy to take his place. So Jimmy called me one day and he said, listen, and he told me the story. He said, we needed like a big guy. They're the Tower of Doom or whatever they were. I forgot the names now. Do you have a guy? I said, hey, I got him. He's in the next room. And he says, what's his name? I said, wait a minute. And I opened the door and Mark wasn't too far away. I said, Mark, come here. And he walked in there and I said, hey, and I put my hand over the receiver. And I said, okay, Cornette, he needs a guy to take Sid's spot, talk to him. Let's give it to him. The conversation went about 2 minutes. And Mark said, okay, man, see ya. And I said, well, it ended kind of quick. But I asked Mark, I said, what's going on? He says, well, I start there next Monday. This was like a Wednesday or a Thursday. I said, good. So he went down there. And they give him some kind of, I don't know what kind of gimmick they gave him there, but
not much.
He didn't have much, but he got to a spot to where, and Vince always watches the shows from other companies. He'd always watch them or have somebody watch them. And they got a hold of Mark. And I told him, he said, should I try to stay here in WCW or go to WWE? I said, well, I'm glad you went to WCW first. Now Vince has a chance to look at you and wonder, what if I had him? And he got a hold of Mark, and then they came up with the Undertaker gimmick, which I've always heard was Vince's actual image of himself, his self-image. It's a character who won't die and is all powerful. So he put all that into Mark, and it worked big time. I remember the first time he came out and that big interest, the people stood up. They were just amazed. So it was almost like a Jack Forever creation.
Mm-hmm.
But, and he went, and from day one to the day he finished, he had that charisma and that awesome entrance. The only time I didn't like Mark is when he dumped the Undertaker gimmick and came out with that damn Hell's Angels type biker gimmick, because he loves bikes. He loves motorcycles. He loves that. And the first time I saw that, I went, I don't know. That's that doesn't compete with your Undertaker gimmick. And I think he kept it a year or whatever, but Then he finally went back to it, and the people accepted it like he'd never gone away. That's the beauty about wrestling. You can leave a gimmick and then go away, and they don't see you for a while, and then come back and take the same gimmick and go back to work like you've never been gone.
Now, the story you've told there is the accepted story. We've talked about this also before. He went to Ole Anderson and said, "Hey, what have I got to do to bump up my pay?" And Ole says, "Well, we don't see anything in you. You'll never make a dime in this business," kind of thing. And that's when Mark says, "Well, stuff this job," and tries to get in contact with the WWF. He credits Paul Heyman and Bruce Pritchard for getting the meeting with Vince. And Hulk Hogan's version is, "Hey, after Suburban Commando, I brought him to the WWF." Well, Suburban Commando finished filming January 18th, 1991, where Undertaker was already with the company for 3 months. By that point, I've said this before. I've got something else to add actually afterwards, but why does Hulk Hogan just lie and lie and lie about things that is so easy to disprove? Has he not heard of the internet?
Well, I don't know. I think there's a element of truth into what we're all telling. I believe Hogan the least, but it's Vince's company, and I think I gave him sound advice. Let him see you here, and all he's looking at is size. He was going to figure all this. Now, where the Undertaker gimmick came from, I have no idea. And I have surmised through other people that it was a self-image of Vince as he saw himself, which makes sense. I don't know if that's true or not, and he loved Mark. He really did.
Well, at the beginning, he didn't.
Show.
Yeah, he actually turned him down at first. He turned down a meeting at first with Mark because I believe he was still Mean Mark Callis at the time. He had a hip injury, and he had to go and wrestle Lex Luger on a pay-per-view match in 1990. And basically, it shit the bed. It wasn't a very good match at all due to several circumstances. Vince saw it and just went, not interested. And it was only at the behest of Bruce Pritchard, who chipped away at Vince. The end of the meeting.
Okay. According to Bruce, and according to Heyman, and according to me, now what do we all have in common? We're all in the wrestling business. So all these things are, like I said, could possibly have an element of truth in them. But this is Mark telling me, so I don't know.